The day when you're on the porch, oh crap, so I gotta call him, you know?
Right, so I got it on.
But like I said, the stripes kind of hit me. I go, I gotta bust this job.
Yeah.
It just got.
Yeah, I was telling him, I set a record, I did it in 9 months. I
I'm
said,
gonna staple it. It's recording already, but I already pressed. So it's already stated. Like, no, just leave it there. All right, you come out here. You're not gonna get behind it. She's already ready to go.
I still don't know
Okay?
who I'm dealing with in Teaneck now. I
she's
call the
already
chief now, and
recording
you know, he tells me whatever. Yeah?
What you want to get?
Paul Kearns, the guy from
Yes, yes.
And the majority of it here. That's it.
Oh really? Okay.
She's
He's
already
a
on.
captain, right?
just came back to work last week.
Good for him. Good for him.
Came back to a tweet, it's almost
I talked to him last year or whatever. But when all else fails, I get Anthony's cell number, so you know, however he wants to do it, it's fine. So, but
Just tell him you're from the ambulance corps and he'll hit you right away.
like
That's his priority.
with the Overland County Park, it was like, well, you know, the 911 calls for the EMS calls is that. And Anthony, you're talking to the wrong guy. You gotta talk to Mark Lipinski, the police captain up in the communications center. I said, that's his thing, that's not my thing. But you know, we gotta make sure we get the ambulances in there, this, that. I'm talking to like the fire chief or like the ambulance captain.
I'll tell you where his priority is. It's always me driving a car.
Yeah, but he's getting paid for the fire.
I understand that.
And I like him.
Me too.
Yeah, but,
And you know what happened last year with him, right? He had twins?
oh yes, yeah.
52 years.
Oh yeah. That,
Boy, Anthony, what are you doing? You're going to be 70 when he's going to graduate high school.
I know. Yeah, he just got married not too long ago before that,
They're
right?
both late starters. She's vice president of Verizon.
Wow, God bless
She's
her.
got a great job too.
Different, and I don't have to tell you, different management style than Monty. Different management style than Monty.
California smoothie.
Hey Dan,
The old, my father was like Monty.
when you get a chance,
My father was a Thai guy.
Full in a China shop. That's not a bad thing either. Sometimes you need that.
You
Right?
need change, but, you know, sometimes you don't want everybody running the roost.
Like I said,
It's 12.
no, you gotta easy. When Bobby gets back, I'll give you plenty home. So it might be another month or whatever.
Fantastic.
I'll see you around, but good seeing you. Take care, Tom.
I'm always here. I'm here on the weekends.
I know. If I had to do somewhere, if I didn't have to do somewhere, I would have called in and I would have stopped it. So don't think I'm being rude, you know? And I was kind of halfway there when I found out it was you. Otherwise, I would have beeped the horn and waved, you know? You guys all look alike.
finish up your coffee, and during this show, you can also stop and go get some more coffee and some food. But all I wanted to show you is that everything that we're doing here today is getting recorded, and we're going to do exactly what we've done many other times. And if you go on YouTube, these are all the other videos that we've done. So we've done this very same class from, you know, Seattle to San Diego, from Chicago to Texas, and from Maine to Florida. And one of the biggest states I've ever done most of my work at is actually New Jersey. So has anybody here been in one of the classes that I've done through Kane for your continuing ed, like a 6-hour course of this very same class, down in either Sayreville, Camden, or Bergen? So it's amazing, but in the past 5 years, I've done these classes. But otherwise, a lot of them got recorded. So as you can see, some of the cities that we've done since the Philadelphia fire escape collapse, you know, the Colorado Springs collapse that killed another guy, and then the Chicago that thinks killed a fireman. But, you know, Atlantic City, just about a month ago, I did the Passaic County Fire Prevention, and that's on here. So these are all seminars, and what we do is this is for PennBach, which is the Pennsylvania. We did one out in Salt Lake, Atlantic City. So Central Virginia, again, we've done classes in Jersey City, we've done classes in Newark, so if you're looking for a smaller class specific only to your city, but a lot of times one of the purposes of us recording it is so you can get you sleep in the class a little bit. Only if you were allowed, they all got their pass outside that allows to sleep through the class. You can go back and watch this class and other classes, and in case some of you people didn't make it to the class today, go watch the class. So some of these classes average as small as 5 people, some of them are, you know, 200 people. So, and a lot of it is all continuing education. All right, so I just want to let you know that this, anybody from home, it's all free videos, there's no login required, just type in Fire Escape Seminar, and all these will show up. Then you just hit the word play, and then kind of pick and choose what you want. But if you want to train your people, whether you're fire prevention or building inspectors, or even housing inspectors, we have all of them here. As you can see, if I scroll down just a little bit, you know, Seattle, Southern California, Philadelphia. And speaking of the Philadelphia, I just recently did a class in Philadelphia, May 2013, with 50 of their inspectors. Guess what happened? A year later, then they brought me in. Then PennBach brought me in, but so what you don't want to do is have a class after you have a fireman on the ground, a baby on the ground, a woman on the ground, you know, it's a very sensitive issue right now everywhere. But as you can see, the Jersey City one, and a lot of times when we have videos, we'll do what's called downtown walkarounds. We've done so many of these, and that is we actually, after a class like this, we would actually go to a downtown with a very smaller group and just record what you just learned here, how to spot fire escapes from so there's all inspector training videos here, so you don't have to get on these. So this is not a class for you to get on fire escapes. This is a class where from across the street, you can write a violation. Driving down the street, looking up, you'll see enough information to write a violation. Okay, so they're here. I didn't want to stop it, but as soon as Laura comes in, she'll start the class process. But I just wanted to let you know if you have smartphones, laptops, or computers that are not blocked at your station from getting on to the YouTube channel, because some of them are, just type in Fire Escape Seminar. All right, that's all I wanted to say for now. And then we'll, if anybody has any specific questions, I'll start, as soon as she comes in, we'll start the class for you. Thank you.
She's straight from Mom. Believe it or not. Yeah. I just wanted to fire
This is the president's office.
Thank you for coming. I believe everybody's going to get some eye-opening information today. Our instructor is Cisco Meneses. He's got a lot of information to give us in a short period of time, but feel free to ask questions as needed. I also want to let everybody know that we're collecting donations for the Gregory Barnes Foundation. He's to help out other firefighters, and he also had advertisements for the new t-shirts that are also going to go to the fund, as well as some blood drive information for him. So if anybody would like to leave donations, that's wonderful. We have a jar outside, and again, thank you for being here.
We got Robbie Rabbits. Would you like to take some now or later?
That would be awesome. We'll take them later. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. So we started this morning to see if anybody's already been at one of these classes, and this is all newbies. Nobody's been to one of the 6-hour continuing ed. So can you imagine this very same class for 6 hours? Everybody needs to bring a pillow or one of those headrests from the airplanes. But what we're going to do is, the focus of today's class is, my job is to teach you something that you already know. You didn't know you knew it. So you're not going to learn anything new. You're just going to learn something that was already there. Now that you read it correctly, you're going to realize what power you have in the fire prevention, in the building department, in the housing inspectors. I'm going to talk about the 4 codes that are out there. I'm going to talk about your 1028.6 and what it says and how you have and have not interpreted. And we're going to talk about fire escapes. So the key reason why we are where we are today is that 50 years ago, nobody inspected the fire escapes in your city. Okay? And there's a main reason why they didn't inspect the fire escapes, because they were just built 25 years before that. And only a few of them 25 years before that. Because a lot of fire escapes got built right around the 1900s. And they basically were the answer to all these buildings that had one staircase. And the one staircase was killing a lot of people on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floor. So they came up with fire escapes as an answer on row housing on the back, so you'd go to your neighbors. That was the first form of fire escape, where you would just basically cross a firewall and there was no ladders, no stairs. Then the second one became, okay, yeah, cross these firewalls, but let's get some ladders on these things so people can come down by themselves and get away. Then the third came, yeah, let's cross over these walls, but then let's put staircases so that people can get down to the ground by themselves. So that's the progression. So they built them very, very strong, and we're going to talk to you about how strong they are. And then all of a sudden, 25 years ago, after they've been around for 25 years, guess what they needed? Repair or a paint job? After 25 years. They only needed a paint job, believe it or not. Fire escapes are built so rugged that 25 years after, a lot of times all you really need is a paint job on it, right? So what did every firefighter, every building inspector, every maintenance guy write as a violation? And everybody has their book. This is the one thing you're gonna write on your paper that you're never gonna write again. They used to write scrape and paint violations, because that's all you really needed. And so when I'm an owner of a building that's a 5-story and I got a fire escape, and I get a violation that says scrape and paint it, where's my first call to? It is a vendor. I call a painter guy. Maintenance guy right there, painter guy says, hey, come in, my 5-story, how much to paint? He goes, $5,000. And by the way, when I was walking up the thing, I noticed a couple of loose treads. You may need to have an ironworker fix that, and then I can paint it. He says, okay. So he calls John the ironworker from down the street. John the ironworker comes to look at this fire escape that he's supposed to only fix, but he tells the owner, listen, I can paint it too. You know what I'm saying? So let me fix it and paint it. So John walks through and he wants more money than just a paint job. So he goes through and says, you know what? It's not just 2 treads. Those are the ones that fell by themselves. You've got a bunch of other things here that need to be fixed, and then I'll paint it. He says, oh, okay. So how much? He goes, oh, $25,000 to change all the structural bolts and paint it. And so the guy that owns the property says, okay, we got 2 bids and a violation in the middle of me. And you know what you wrote? You wrote scrape it and paint it. So Bob, the painter, says, you know, I can paint it and I don't care if it's fixed, because I can, you know, I can get some duct tape and I can get some paper clips and coat hangers to hold that tread in position, or my friend Johnny the welder is going to do what to the fire escape tread that's full of rust? He's going to weld the nose of it, okay? And then he goes to John the ironworker and says, I can't afford you, you know. So violation said scrape it and paint it. Even though John is advising him that you've got liability like crazy up there, he says that's not what the city official said. She was here or he was here, and you know what he said? Scrape it and paint it. He didn't tell me to fix anything, because it's really a financial situation. So all of a sudden, guess who gets the job? Bob the painter. So Bob the painter, oh, by the way, you need to pull a permit when you're painting? Bob the painter never even pulls a permit on this job and does what? Paints it. Then the owner calls the city official and says, hey, I've done what you've requested. I've scraped it and painted. You want to come look at it? And the official who wrote the violation drives down the street. You get out of your car, you look up. What do you see? It's black, used to be brown. What do you do back at the office? Remove the violation, done. All right, so today, here's what you're going to write from now on. And this is, so you are part of the reason. So this is the perfect storm of stupidity. Okay? It happened 50 years ago. Okay? And so then, there's a lot of firemen in here. As the years went on and things started falling, people started getting hurt, the firemen came up with a fix. And not the fire prevention. They didn't come up with a fix. You know, it was the firemen. They came up with a suggestion and a training module, or a training model for all the men coming in. So all the gray-haired guys told all the new guys coming in who are going to hold a hose and fight a fire, they say, in case of fire, don't use the fire suits. Oh, so you guys all got that training. Got it? So that was the fix. Since nobody was watching the fire escapes, it's part of your training. Everywhere in the country, in case of fire, don't kill yourself. Do not use the fire escape. Take the extra 5, 7, 10 minutes it takes for you to go get the ladder out of the truck, to take the woman out of the second floor with the baby, and don't worry about smoke inhalation, because she can hold her breath. So all you're going to do right now, we're going to go right through all the codes. So that's where we're at today, right? So here, write this down. Every violation from now on, you will always write: evaluate, repair, test. That's it. You're going to write, because that's what the code says. You must evaluate, you must repair it, you must test it. And I'm going to explain what those 3 words mean. Because if you tell them to fix a tread, guess what tread they'll fix? You tell them that the cantilever is out of balance, guess what they're going to fix? So you have to have it evaluated. Then you have to have it repaired. and then you have to either have it certified or tested. We're gonna cover all those new words that you guys currently have in all your codes, and once we explain it to you, like, oh, you're all gonna walk out of here with a trump card in your pocket that we're gonna talk about that you guys are gonna love, and that's gonna sort of change a lot of things. But you'll never write a scrape and paint violation. Just write evaluate, repair it, test it, okay? So, with that, let's talk about the strength of fire escapes, because this is some of the conditions that occur when it comes to fire escapes, okay? So, the National Fire Escape Association, I started this a couple of years back because I had so much information from all the classes that I taught, there was no place to put it. So I put it in the National Fire Escape Association. So if you go to nationalfireescapeassociation.org, everything is there, you don't have to sign in. Industry standard documentations from all the cities and all the states that I've worked on, you can copy and paste, steal, borrow, adjust, amend. So all of this stuff is there. But, oh, go back one picture here for you. I wanted to show you why fire escapes are so strong. So that 50 years ago, why did firemen get on them? Doesn't want to go back to my favorite little, sometimes I double click. This is a great shot of when fire escapes were first made. Alright. So this is a fire escape from 50 years ago. The same fire escape you have today. It never went away, it stayed. And if you look at the firemen there and the people, it's a great shot. Here's how fire escapes are built. They're built like anything else, unlike anything else you have, 100 pounds per square foot. So, let's take a look at this fireman right here. Is that roughly a 5x5 platform, let's say? 5x5 square feet. That's 25 square feet times 100 pounds, that's 2,500 pounds. So if there's a load test coming, I gotta bring 50-pound bags, and I gotta put them in that 5x5, and it's for an hour. And there's measurements before, measurements during, and measurements after. You load it with 40% first, make sure it doesn't creak, then you load the rest, and every platform, every tread, that's a load test. And I have us photographed here dragging 50-pound bags around. By the way, this is not a load test class. You don't want bags dragged around all over your city on buildings that the walls are, suspect themselves. This is just to show you what it can take, right? So, each one of those firemen, today's fireman, if he weighs 200 pounds plus 100 pounds of uniform, he's 300 pounds. Put 10 of those firemen, that's 3,000 pounds, right? Can I fit 10 firemen in this place? So it was built to never handle 10 men. So let's take 5 men. Can I get 5 300-pound firemen in that 5x5? If they really hug close. It's a hug session. Think so? Okay? So if I put only 5 of them there, I only got 1,500 pounds up there, and I still got another 1,000 pounds of what? Left over. So that's how crazily these things are built. You don't build houses and decks as strong as this thing, got it? Now let's take the tenants. Each tenant weighs 150 pounds. So it's going to take me 20 tenants to equal 3,000 pounds. Can I get 20 tenants to stay there and wait for you guys? Can I get 10 tenants to hug close and really tight? Well, if I only get 10 of them and they all hug and they all get on their shoulders and they pack it up, well, that's only 1,500 pounds. What do I still have left over? So guys, if you watch the Philadelphia case, if you hear it, the guy says, the lawyer, which by the way got hired, said, a properly maintained fire escape will never fall. Is that a correct statement? Sure it is. A properly maintained, not an unmaintained, but a properly maintained fire escape. Can it ever fall? Well, if the building came with a fire escape, what did we have? Fire escape collapse or a building collapse? I'm talking about my fire escape. I'm not talking about, it's overbuilt. Guys understand? You can pack this thing with every tenant, every man, you can squish, and it'll still have extra. But now, 50 years ago, when everybody jumped on it, look, they're having a party, they're waiting. Everybody's waiting to hold a fire hose. That's how strong these things were back then. Right? Today, you don't even get on it because you've been told, don't get on it. But back then, it wasn't an issue for the tenants getting out and for people getting on. It wasn't an issue, but you let 50 years go by and you let a 1/4 inch and a 1/2 inch of rust go into there. Now what's the word? And because nobody's doing anything about fixing them, what's the word? What's safer, getting on them or getting off of them? Or never getting on them? So we just need to make up some stickers so that on the front of your, all the fire trucks, it says, don't get on the fire escape. And we need to make up stickers to put on all the tenant buildings that say, in case of fire, kill yourself, don't get on the fire escape. Otherwise, we gotta come up with another plan. All right, let's come up with another plan. We're gonna make it automatic. We're gonna show you how you guys have to work with fire prevention, has to work with the building department, has to work with housing, has to work with the health department, and it's all gonna be triggers. It's all gonna be a checklist item. Can I get in my house without a smoke detector inspection? It's that simple. So we're gonna show you tricks today that says as soon as you add it to a checklist, and that checklist is there, so you don't have to do anything different. It's gonna be a checklist item required to submit a sprinkler test, a checklist item to submit a smoke detector test, a checklist item to pull a permit, a checklist item to close a permit. It's a checklist item before I'll let the housing inspector let you in here for Section 8 housing. It's a checklist item. You're not doing anything different anymore. Because it's just gonna come to you that somebody hasn't done it for how long? 30 to 50 years at least. Got it? So, let the fun begin. All your codes. I'll speak about your 1028. IBC, IFC, NFPA, right? We're gonna talk about how you guys have this power you didn't even know. So let's read it. By the way, the International Fire Code, which you may or may not have adopted, now controls fire escape. When you were finally adopted, they put it in IFC 2012, they took it out of IBC 2012. And what does it say for 2012, which is nationwide? Testing and certification. All exterior fire escape systems shall be examined or tested and or certified for structural accuracy and safety every 5 years and report submitted to the fire official. So guess who's getting this full load as of 2012, if you haven't adopted it yet for the next 10 years. It's coming your way anyway. Got it? So, the International Fire Code, testing and certification, any fire escape system found in a state of deterioration or unsafe shall be repaired immediately. Depending upon the structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. This sounds like your 1028.6. Right? Now let's go into NFPA. The authority having jurisdiction, who might that be? The authority having jurisdiction shall be permitted to approve any existing fire escape stair that has been shown by load test or other satisfactory evidence to have adequate strength. Talk about that in a second. And the building code. The building code says testing and certification. All exterior fire escape systems shall be examined and or tested and certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. So all the codes say this, yet everybody didn't know what it all meant. So let's take it and start with your code. Your fire code 1028.6, that's where you're gonna write your violation. So write that down. 1028.6 is your code. It says testing and certification. Any fire escape system found in a state of deterioration. What's that mean?
Rust, anything.
Just rust, man. Deterioration means that they haven't painted it. You have to worry about dangling treads or rust in the connection in the state of deterioration. That just means they're not looking at it. You know, they haven't been painting it. Or unsafe condition. What's it mean by unsafe? Shall be repaired immediately. That means you're there and you see dangling treads. You see huge blobs of rust in the connection. Depending upon the structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. Depending on the structural condition. Who determines the depending on the structural condition? Is that the engineer or is that you?
We would be the first ones to see it,
So,
we would ask.
all of a sudden they say, yeah, I took care of it. And you get there, and the guy just threw a paint job over this crusty, rusty, mousetrap for tenants and firemen, right? And all of a sudden you get there, because you're doing your final there, because you have that nice, beautiful letter from the engineer with an opinion that says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape system is in conformity with your code. And you're looking at it, you're like, poured paint over this thing. So depending upon the structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. Who orders that? Is it the engineer or is it you?
I would think we would, because I want certification, I want the documentation, I don't, when I go to court and get my ass.
Well, that's also what the NFPA says. The authority having their jurisdiction shall, because they explain it better, shall be permitted to approve any existing fire escape system that has been shown by load test. Let's stop it there. So don't even worry about this other statement. So what does the NFPA want you to do? Right off the bat. They want you to even give it any consideration, or they want you to load test everything. So they're telling you to load test everything, then consider other evidence. I'm gonna talk about other evidence, because that's what this class is about, other evidence. Got it? So this is not a load test class, this is an other evidence class. But we want to marry it to your current code, and it says, depending on the structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. So whose opinion is it really whether a load test is coming? Is it the engineer that the owner is working with and paying? Or is it you when you get there and you're kind of looking at it, and you know, the engineer never got out of his vehicle to collect his $500, opinion letter, and the owner just had a party that weekend and he had him and a bunch of friends paint the fire escape. So here's two codes that agree with you. This code up here agrees with you also because it says, shall be examined or tested, right? And then the last word, and or certified. What's certified mean? Certified means other satisfactory evidence of strength. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, load tested, all the codes agree with it. They sort of mention, let's start International Building Code. All exterior fire escapes shall be examined. So, step one on any fire escape is to repair it or examine. So, you must ask for an examination, then it gets repaired, then it either gets tested or certified. So, let's talk about what tested or certified, because you want some assurances in here, right? You guys want assurance for your men? And assurance comes, will assurance come for you if I load test your fire escape? So this 50 to 75-year-old fire escape with rivets and square head bolts, and then we fix only the ones that are bad, and then upon conclusion of the repair, we load test it with 2,500 pounds of sandbags all over the place. Are you satisfied? It's not a trick question. If we do what the law says, are you satisfied? Got it? So, but there's a cost of dragging these bags around. So sometimes the clients will say, is there any other alternative for this load test stuff? Because I really don't want to put this much pressure on my building. And you say, what is it? What is it? What's the other word you have? Other evidence of strength. So let me tell you what other evidence of strength means. You take an existing fire escape that was built 75 years ago, and I take out every fastener out of the thing, that's square heads or rivets, all the major structural, not the minor that's holding scrolls and stuff like that. Every major structural, take every single one of them out and put in a brand new bolt of equal or greater value. I know you're all asking, well, what about the building? Exactly, what about the building? That ties into the building, which usually a load test will verify. What we do is we can either start opening up each one of those bricks on this nice 100-year-old building, or we leave it alone, let the sleeping dogs lie, and we put a new through 3/4 bolt on the side and we reattach it with a new plate on the inside. We duplicate it. We leave it alone, because what happens when you open up that can of worms in your building? Can't match the bricks, it won't go back, there's other things going on in there. So if I give you a brand new connection there, either with an epoxy bolt, or with a 3/4 through bolt with a plate on the inside, or I take the thing, I put legs to the ground on it, are you concerned anymore about the building attachment? Have I given you other satisfactory evidence of strength? And now I'm going to call this a certification. So if I spot repair a fire escape, what's going to be automatic coming out of your pocket in the back? If somebody just changes some of the old rivets and some of the old square head bolts, what are you going to order that 4 codes will support you? It's a nasty word now, but load test. So you walk to any fire escape and they slapped on a paint job, they changed 17 bolts, and they welded without a permit. Some of the connections with the rust still in it, and as you know, up in Boston, 2 firemen died how quickly? Because the guy was welding on a fire escape right next to it. So it's the building here and the building here, he was welding here, caught the shed on fire that burnt this 5-story building over here that caught 2 guys in the basement within 3 to 5 minutes, because that day we happened to have 60-mile-an-hour winds. And as soon as they cracked the front windows on that building, what happened to all the windows coming from the back by the river? Blew through and turned that thing into a torch. Got it? So, how How many of you have been asked for a fire permit to weld on a fire escape? By the way, the EPA no longer allows that because you got lead on the fire escape, so you will not see welding fire escapes anymore as a method of temporary, repair. So all the code, so you walk to any fire escape that has been, you wrote a violation, and they only spot repaired it and painted it, what do you have in your back pocket that all 4 codes are gonna? Nice and loud, guys, what's the word? Load test. And then, because you want to put it back in your pocket, because that just scares whoever you're dealing with. Load test it. They say, oh, is there anything else besides this load test which is going to cost me thousands of dollars? And as you gently put it back in your pocket, what do you tell them? Other evidence of strength, which means what? Go back to this fire escape and take out what? All the bolts, all the rivets that are still good, and do what to them? Yeah, just change them. Then there is no load test, and I'll put the load test thing in my pocket, because I need assurance. And right now, what you're giving me is, you're giving me a paint job, you've taken out some bolts, and your engineer wants to give me an opinion letter that is very boldly written right there, and it says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is in conformity with your code, which says what? What do you do that? At a coffin of a fireman? Can you put it somewhere? Can you trade it in for a lottery ticket? Right? So, this is what you have to deal with. We're going to be teaching other evidence of strength all day today. That says a fire escape should have been swapped out when? Well, let's take a look at the life of an envelope of an average building. You build a building today, 25 to 50 years from now, did I change all the electrical at least once? Did I change out all the windows at least once? Did I change the roof at least once? Did I change, the plumbing at least once? Yet, how many times have I changed my fire escape in 25 to 50 years from the day I put it in? So, here we have the bastard child of egress, and that's what happened. You guys have buildings out there that they spend millions of dollars inside, and they won't spend a nickel other than a paint can on the fire escape outside. Got it? So that's all we're talking about. So, all your codes support you. This is your code. And if anybody has a book here with today, just pull it out, 1028.6. That's exactly what it says. Depending on the structural condition, a load test may be ordered. Who is that? Who's going to order that load test? Got it? Anybody disagree with that? Anybody want to raise their hand and say, no, you're misinterpreting this? Or is this all 4? You already had this. I'm not teaching you anything you don't already know. You already knew this. Nobody, in 100 years, we've had one paragraph to fire escapes. Everything else has gotten, pages and books full. This is the only code in the whole nation. And NFPA says it the best. The authority having jurisdiction shall be permitted to approve any existing fire escape stair that has been shown by load test and or other satisfactory evidence to have adequate strength. Got it? So, you guys already knew this, now you know it. Take it and utilize it correctly. Now let's make it a trigger. Here's another thing you didn't know that I actually found this out when I was teaching the class down in Philadelphia. You're scanning through. Let's get you one more person to help you. Let's have OSHA help you. Anybody want OSHA to help you enforce some standards? All right, so write this down, 1910.37, right? It says, exit routes must be maintained during constructions, repairs, or alterations. What that means is, and I'll read it, during repairs or alterations, employees must not occupy a workplace unless the exit routes, how many is that? Required by this subpart are available and the existing fire protections are maintained or until alternate. So there's another thing you can do here. Fire protection system is furnished that provides an equivalent level of safety. So, if I'm going to shut down my sprinkler systems, what do I do with the fire chief? I create an alternate. If I have a situation that's with the smoke alarms, what do I do with the fire chief? If I have a situation where, there's going to be some welding in the building, what do I do with the fire chief? Right? So, fire protection. So, it says, I currently just took this downtown building, which is 7 stories tall. It has 2 means of egress. It's a 100-year-old building. It has this beautiful central stair, which makes a nice chimney when you're lighting fires. And there's a left wing and a right wing. On either wing, what is there as a second means? That's been there for 100 years. A fire escape. And I intend to gut this thing and turn it into multi-million-dollar condos, and I'll fix the fire escape when? At the beginning or at the end?
Never.
So, never, yeah, thank you, Brent. So with that, what's that mean? I'm gonna go pull a permit. And if all of a sudden, in the pulling of the permit, somebody tells me, oh, are you providing alternate means of egress, because I'm trying to get a certificate to issue you your permit. But I need a certification on those fire escapes before you can start, because you need to have 2 exit routes. The guy says, no, I'm gonna do that at the end, because, you know, the beginning, it says, oh, okay, well, let's do this. I don't wanna slow you down. I know you guys are gonna spend $68 million on that building. Let's do this. Let's get a scaffolding company in there. Is that an alternate?
Yes.
I want to scaffold that whole backside. I want you to tie it in. I want you to mothball the fire escape, which is what on the inside? What do you do? Mothball the fire escape so nobody gets in and nobody gets out. Seal it up. Seal all access to these fire escapes through windows, through doors. Just 3/4 plywood would be fine for me. And on the outside, for the safety of my firemen, I want you to do what to the fire escape? Put on those placards that say what?
No use.
Right? And here's your permit, man. Go have a party. Or, what do they do first? Repair, get the fire escape evaluated, get it repaired, get it tested or certified. And what can they do? They can continue. They can also put the scaffolding up immediately, because that's $5,000 a month. And get the fire escape going right away, because their project is 2 years old, 2 years long. And that scaffolding fee is the money I need to just, you know, get the fire escape done. So you make it a trigger, you make it an automatic. So we're gonna talk about automatics today. So, in a lot of these ideas that we're talking about today, guess how long it's gonna take to implement? 3 to 5 years. Because you're gonna go out writing violations, you're gonna get hung in the city square by the local people saying, hey, you haven't touched it to this day, why are you kicking poo around? If you leave poo alone, does it stink? Not until you kick it. Then what happens? So leave poo alone, but so they think this is poo. This is a life safety concern. You guys have a lot of issues, and you have to have a plan. And the plan is, you need to get out there and start looking at all these fire escapes. And so you're gonna use everybody as your resource. How many pre-plans go on? Continuous. So what are you gonna have those rookies do for you? Find fire escapes. And do what with them? They're not gonna do anything, they're just gonna find them. That's 1 Main Street, that's Chestnut Street, and that's something other street, and they give that to who? To their captain, to their battalion chief. Say, I saw another one. And what's the only opinion we want from them? From these rookies who are just getting their feet wet and being told don't jump on fire escapes. We're not gonna tell them that anymore, but what do they want? What do you wanna ask them? What's the only question you wanna ask from one of those guys? Is it structurally sound or is it painted? Which is the only question we want them to answer? Is it painted? If they say no, right? Is that part of that whole, you know, deterioration thing? But that's just gonna start finding. You need to start finding, because you'll never see these fire escapes. You think you have 800 fire escapes? You have 8,000 fire escapes. You know where they are? They're on the back of every building that used to be a single family that is now a 2, possibly 3, and if the basement is being utilized, possibly a 4 family. And guess what the answer was to make it a semi-legit, not paying all my taxes, 4 family? The answer was a fire escape that I either pulled a permit to put on there, or a fire escape that I did what on Saturday? Shoehorned it in 50 years ago. Pre-existing non-conforming. So, now let's rock and roll. Ready? Fire escapes and load testing and all these great things. This is you guys remember the Station Night Fire? 2003. You know how long I've been teaching this class? It's 2003. Hank Philip Ryan called me from Channel 7 in Boston. He said, hey, I want to show people that there's, you know, because the 100 people died in the Station Night Fire, that you can use your fire escape to get out. You know, I want to have a piece about, you know, fire safety, how you can get out. And let's go do fire escapes. I said, listen, you know that 75% of everything I touch, if not more, fails. and more than half of that has emergency life safety. She said, no way, we have laws. Laws don't, they're all protected. And we said, okay, so let's go down. So I brought it down to the theater district. I taught her in 15 minutes, you know, what to look for, the obvious. Dangling treads, obvious. Blown out cement, obvious. Major rust and bangs and dents, obvious, right? And she said, okay, show me some fire escapes. I said, no, pick any one you want and start inspecting. And from that, came up with this.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him,
Oh, I'm scared to death.
but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
When the railing just came away from the building,
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So that over here? For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Right.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely gonna put somebody either in the hospital or it's gonna put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files
But there's no fire escape certification.
to see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe? Or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
no,
4 more fire escapes,
did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track. How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this?
No, but when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn, the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi-Ryan.
Wow, that pissed off a lot of people, didn't it?
It did.
All right, let me tell you exactly what they did, and now just look at the timing. Grab your books, flip it to the back.
You have any
With
more
that-
books?
Yeah, there should be some more books floating down here. And so. Here, just put it right here, and then everybody just grab one of each. Hopefully there's enough. If not, I can always go off the car and get more. I'll send somebody to go off the car and come back. So, guys, 1973. All right, so I'm gonna talk about the checklist item. I'm gonna talk about what Boston did because of that 2003. But in 1973, this happened on Marlborough Street. You gotta have $1 million to live in Marlborough Street now, right? But in Marlborough Street, this fireman on the 4th floor, with a news reporter there taking a photo, this woman and her niece, the fire escape collapsed. He grabbed the fire escape ladder truck with his hand, saved himself. She died, and the niece survived from the fall. This was a Pulitzer Prize winning photograph by the Herald Reporter in '73. You know what they did back then into the International Building Code? Massachusetts immediately amended it and said, okay, you must certify it every 5 years, because it was, you must maintain your fire escape at all times. You know that code, all times? If it ain't broke, don't fix it? That's what's the codes that have been out there. There's been no 5-year rule ever. And all of a sudden now, in '73, they put the code in, and then what happened? Then they went back to sleep. Because it relied on you to not only check for mold, and check for fire, and check for bad situations, but still inspect these fire escapes. We gotta take that away from you. We're gonna make it a checklist item, got it? So we're gonna run on a couple of ideas right now about the checklist item that Boston did immediately, and then they stopped right there. So here's it, but we got a lot more checklist items that we're gonna add to the list right now. Ready? So what they did because of Channel 7, they immediately said in Boston Building Department, because in 50 states, 40 states, fire prevention runs everything. In 10 states, building department runs everything. Got it? But regarding fire escapes. Got it? So the majority is fire. And because it's 2012, it's going to be fire in every state. And the building department, they took it out of IBC. You go to the 2012 IBC and you read fire escape maintenance, you know what it says? See, fire official. So unless they have an amended thing that says, no, we want to hold on to fire escapes, we've never taken care of it before, we want to not take care of it some more, you know, and amend their codes, fire's taking it all over. But here's what Boston did. The building department put on the back of their permit that you can't close a permit without a certification. Right? No, here's the beauty. It basically says if you're spending money in my city and you're spending money in the building and you pull the permit for electrical, plumbing, or anything, it didn't matter. To close that permit, you needed a fire escape affidavit. So it was a quick little Band-Aid on it, but it actually made sense because it said, hey, you know, these are people that are now working with dead buildings, these are people that are trying to do something with a building, and now they're trying to close this permit, and that's what they did. So in Boston now, you got calls, I added to my deck, I need a certificate. I did a new roof, I need a certificate. I did a plumbing job on the basement, I need a certificate. It's at the tail. Where should it be? Should be up front. Problem is, you put certificates at the front of building permits, what's gonna happen to your residential and your commercial people? What are they gonna do to you? They're gonna come at you with an axe. So where do you wanna put it? Start at the back end. Why? Because they won't see it coming. So, work with your building department, say, building department, please, on the back end, to close all your permits and let them close their permits, because is it a complete close or an incomplete close? If they don't have a certificate attached to it. It's incomplete, that's it, because all you're getting is a referral. Got it? You'll take it from there. This permit that was pulled on this building for any reason, so at least you're going to have a checklist immediately of all active people. In 3 to 5 years, where do you want to push the permit process to? To the front in 3 to 5 years. For who first? Residential or commercial? Commercial. So let's put everything on the back end for commercial and residential. And where do you want to put this checklist item in 3 to 5 years? Commercial first, and then in 5 years' time, for who? Because they'll get the word by then. Got it? We need another checklist item. Let's go through another checklist. I got somebody coming in here going to give you $1,500 a month for this rental. So you guys are coming in for the smoke detector inspection. What do you ask for? Say, where's your certification? What do they say? Huh? So what do? Do you hold up that $1,500 rental? No. Sign off here, you do what you've been doing, and what, is it complete or incomplete? Incomplete, and now what have you started on that building? The process of getting what? So you don't stop the money flow, but you do say, oh, you've been flagged, and guess what now? You're in this whole new line of what? Get that thing certified. Let your tenants move in. Oh, you want to go look at it? I don't want to look at it. I need you to evaluate, repair, and test it if needed. Every 5 years. Got it? So don't stop the money train. What other things on a commercial building can I put as a checklist item on the back end? What do we have here? Case of sprinklers. So every sprinkler company submits their certificate when? Is it every year or every 2? Every 2, and what must be attached with it every 2? A certification, a current certification, because it's a 5-year certification, so how often can you use the same certification? For 5 years. Well, he's only going to get 2 shots at it, because one of them is going to be a half of the year, kind of, I'm out, but, so you're going to have those guys help you by doing what? And all of a sudden he shows up without a certification for the fire escape from the owner. You stop it? Okay, keep it going, and do what? Flag it as incomplete, and what happens? One more person added to your checklist, so let's add another checklist. You guys do your extinguisher walkthroughs. You do building walkthroughs. What is it? The alarm system checks. What must be attached to those? Is it complete or incomplete? So because in case of fire, where's the first thing in the middle of the night, where do I go? So if the alarms go off, if the sprinklers go off, you know, if I wake myself up in a fire, where do I go? So what must I have? Housing inspectors. For Section 8. In Boston, you can't get into a building, because we taught the entire Metropolitan Housing Authority, we taught them what? That after they check for lead, and they check for rats, and they check for this, and they check for that, what must you have? You must have 2 means of egress. That's just state code. Can I rent anything that doesn't have 2 means of egress? Can I provide anybody with it doesn't law say you must provide me, what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody called here. A safe dwelling? I can't buy or sell a piece of property? Oh, how many of you have that whole re-renting checklist thing that happens? What do you need in order to re-rent your apartment? But what else do you need to attach to that? And if they don't have it, what do? Do you stop the process? Do you ever stop the process? No. Do you ever stop the old way of doing things? But what do you attach? Is it complete or incomplete? And it's a red flag, and that name just gets added to a list saying you've got how many days? 30 days to comply. To examine it, repair it, and test it, or certify it. Right? So that's for housing. What about buying and selling a piece of property? What's the next thing that happens to the new guy? Isn't there an occupancy? Doesn't the new owner have to come in and see you guys? Hey, I need a new occupancy permit because I own the new building. And what's he need to have now to give you? So, and he doesn't have one when he comes to see you. What do you do? You stop the process? Let it fly. Do what to him? Dot on his head. Get a red mark and just red his head and say, dude, you've been marked. For what? For process. That's all. Got it? Now your firefighters going down to do pre-plans, and they're doing this building, and it doesn't have a fire escape, but they turn around and there's this building, and it doesn't have a tag. Because one of the things we're going to talk about, to open up your book. Now we're going to, actually, did we run out of books? Yeah, I think they're in the back on the box, you see them there. On the very back, if I may, I'm just going to show you on the back. See the tags? These tags happened after I went to Seattle, after 4 guys almost fell to their death. But every fire escape in Seattle, in Portland, and in certain cities throughout the country that are test driving this model, every fire escape, like an elevator, must have what kind of tag on it? A white tag 7 to 10 feet off the ground, permanently attached to the fire escape or the building, stating what? That it's certified. So when your firefighters run down an alleyway and it's smoky and he forgot to drag his ladder with him, and he gets underneath a fire escape that has a white tag, should he run back to the truck and get his ladder, or should he use the fire escape because now it says it's safe? If he gets there and he sees a yellow one, what could he do? There's no life safety, but if he sees a red one, what's he going to do? He's going to run back and get his ladder, right? So this is in play already. So everything that we want to do already exists. Somewhere in the country, you need to copy and paste. So you go to Seattle, you go to Portland, Oregon. We actually changed the state code in Portland. So 1 state down, 49 states to go. You know how easy it is? It's not. From the top down, it's like frozen molasses. Pushing it up a hill with your nose. Got it? So, guys, I got more active activity from the grassroots. You guys will fan a flame that some of these city officials can't put out. Because sometimes everything at the top needs to be double crossed, double dotted, examined before they'll run into play, whereas this thing has been in play in many cities and states for 10 years. You go to Portland, Oregon, you go to Firescape Issues, and I think on the small one, I think I have a copy. This is like a starter kit. I have a copy of what Portland did. And when you read it, they got kind of crazy. They started telling you how to scrape and paint it, what kind of bolts to use. So everything is there. So a lot of times, you want to reinvent the wheel, or you just want to order a copy online. Just go and steal. This certificate in Seattle, you go to seattle.gov, and you go to fire prevention, and you go to confidence tests. They have confidence tests for sprinklers. They have confidence tests. So don't just steal mine while you're there. Steal everyone that's there. Because they already did that. So, and then the confidence test, it comes in Word or it comes in PDF. And guess what you can do to their name at the top? Copy, paste. Got it? So a lot of this stuff is easy, because don't forget, this is the perfect storm of stupidity. Everybody here is blamed as to why this occurred 50 years ago. Well, why are we all of a sudden worried about it today? What's the big deal? That's because grandma can't hold you up anymore. She's dropping tenants and firemen like flies now. Now everybody's worried, because every single one of these is 50 years beyond the point of refurb. You're supposed to refurbish a fire escape every 25 years. Take the fasteners that are there, take them out, put in new fasteners, and guess what you don't have to do for the next 25 years? Load test. What do you provide consistently to the city official for the next 25 years after you've taken every fastener out? Other evidence of strength. Otherwise, if the owner ignores it during that 25-year period, what do you order upon him? Who's trying to sneak by other evidence of strength? You order another load test. So if they ignore their duty, you will order a load test. Got it? So what I recommend you guys do, take that booklet. And by the way, at the end of this, we try to collect cards. We got to make sure you give me all the names. I'll get you a certificate of completion. You can put it on your wall when somebody comes in and says you don't know nothing from nobody, including structural engineers who think they know more than you. You say, hey, did you pass this course? If you didn't pass this course, you don't know jack squat. Let me get that book out, and I'm also get you a book about 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick, and we'll have 5 case studies in there. Wood fire escape, you have some of those, right? You know what the code is? It's all exterior steel and wooden stairs, right? You know what we're touching right now? The tip of the iceberg, which is what? Fire escapes. You know what the code is? All exterior steel or wooden stairs. You know what you're going to practice on before you get really good at it? Fire escapes. Because fire escapes come in steel and wood. A majority is steel. There's going to be a few wood ones. You're like, oh, I don't think that's a fire escape. Okay, when people come out of there, when there's a fire, it's a fire escape. Escaping fire stair. Okay? So we'll go over some of those examples. But in the meantime, take it easy. It's a 5-year program. So we'll work, if you want to be one of the model cities, we can come in, give you some of these tags, some of this information with your name and everything already on it. You can be the guinea pig for the next 3 to 5 years. That way your friends in other cities nearby that are afraid to jump in without getting their heads chopped off can sort of use you as a go-to. So we do have other cities for you guys to call. such as Fort Lee, such as, you know, Jersey City, such as Newark, Atlantic City, you know, just call them and say, hey, is this crazy, or, you know, did you get a sharp stick in the eye yet? And a lot of them got sharp sticks in the eye. You know what I'm saying? Because believe me, you will get blowback, and I don't mean the movie. Got it? All right.
Fire escape engineers inspect. Fire escape engineers. Fire escape engineers inspect the summary video. Fire escape engineers inspect the summary video. We're here in Philadelphia. All right.
Sometimes it just doesn't want to work. But you got everybody remember the Philadelphia situation that happened how long ago? January.
Witnesses say it
12th.
sounded like an incredible explosion when the fire escape of a Philadelphia apartment building suddenly collapsed and injured 3 people.
NBC 10 cameras were there as a friend holds on to one of the victim's hands, who is apparently conscious as the victim is placed into an ambulance by medics.
KYW-TV reports a man who was critically injured and 2 women were rushed to local hospitals.
Police believe the bolts of the fire escape appear to have been rusted and dislodged from the brick wall of the apartment building.
The victims fell more than 30 feet to the ground, and now the incident is under investigation. Worth noting, the complex is more than 100 years old and even on Philadelphia's historic registry. Local reporters are all pointing out the city's licenses and inspections department hasn't filed any violations in the past when it comes to the old building, so Sunday's collapse came without warning. Neighbors say the 3 victims, reportedly all in their 20s, may have been partying on the fire escape landing before the incident. For Newsy, I'm Elizabeth Hagedorn.
No partying on these fire escapes. Did you have at least 20 people on that fire escape? Because I'll tell you, that's what makes bad fire escapes fall. They have 20? Or they have 3? They had 3. One died, they fell 4 floors. So he died on January 12th. When did everybody get sued? January 27th. Got it? Anybody still need books? Anybody need books? He's got some extra books. And so with that, let me tell you the history of that, because I actually happen to be in the area, because I inspect all up and down the East Coast. I inspect all over the country, but I happen to be in the area doing another inspection unrelated to this one. And so I went by and took a look at the scene, and I took some video of it, again, because it's in an alleyway. It's not blocked. You just go there and check the thing, and the steel was still on the ground, the blood was still on the ground, you know, so. But here's what's happened recently because of that. We did probably 4 or 5 seminars because of it. So PennBach brought me in, the Pennsylvania Building Officials Association brought me in, Atlantic City brought me in, Passaic County brought me in, the state of Virginia brought me in, because they all heard about this case. Now this is just one of the cases that happened in January. You have that other guy that got killed in Colorado Springs. Okay? So they brought me in, but here's the most recent development. On April 10th or 11th, we were down there. The city council was having a meeting to come up with ideas, and they brought the fire chief and the building chief and all these people, including the lawyer for the kid who died, and everybody was there to have, we gotta do something about this. So the after the fact, right? And it was the funniest thing, because the only reason I was there was because the Pennsylvania Apartment Buildings Association or Buildings Group called me to say, hey, do you have any information that she could bring to the thing? She said, and if you want, it's open, you can come yourself. So I did, I went. And on that day, which I think was a Friday, I'm there sitting in the audience, and they're talking about, you know, oh, we gotta do something, and something must be done. And they're coming up with all these ideas, even though this has already been fixed, right? So it's kind of funny, because I'm sitting in the audience, and you can't raise your hand when there's, you know, testimony being given and stuff. It was hilarious. Finally, I snuck my way around the back and said, hey, can I come, an expert witness, can I speak today? So it was funny, because they were asking all these questions that nobody had an answer to. Then at the end, and I got in there, I said, you know, the wheel you're looking for, I dragged the wheel in with me. There's a wheel right here if you guys want to use this wheel. So instead of reinventing the wheel out of a square block, it already exists everywhere. And by the way, and this is the funny one, right? To the councilman, to the fire chief and the building department chief, I said, and by the way, I gave you guys a class on this to your 50 building inspectors last May 2013. And I said, not if, I said when. And just 2 months ago, 3 months ago, I taught your state this. So you guys are asking questions that not enough people are doing their homework and just going online and saying Firescape answers. And what do you find? 10 years worth of what? Trial and error. So they're proposing legislation, and so it was funny because the councilman, but the chairman of the council committee basically says, I appreciate all the information you just brought. Looked a little bit, red in the face because, he's supposed to look a little bit more intelligent than everybody else. He goes, it was funny, he goes, I'm sure, before you stand up and finish this, because you're the last speaker thing, I'm sure you're gonna be approached by many people in this room who need to speak with you and, get things rolling. And it was funny, I literally had I stood up and, I got the fire chief and the building official and the lawyer, and everybody's handing me their card saying, we need to talk because we don't need to invent a solution here, it already exists, we just need to modify it to our city. So we've got up and coming, committee meetings and training that's basically just gonna implement this system that is already in other states, which means it's verifiable. You can go check with other people, check with other firemen, check with other building departments and say, hey, how's it working or not? Okay? So it's just a matter of implementation and having a 3 to 5 year plan. If you have a shorter plan than that, you will be stabbed in the eyeball. Because this does upset the apple cart. The apple cart of money making, which is, don't look that way. So that's why we need to make it a trigger. Nobody's changing their job description today. There's no Firescape czar coming up to your city. Just add it to the checklist of what? Things that are already required in order for you to keep your building moving forward and open. Just add it to the checklist. And at the end, we're gonna go over the checklist again, and then including the bad boy of the bunch, ready? Health department. If they have checklists that before people can go back into, but they're tying in also to now all your, senior housing, right? All these places that they basically run for the state that basically takes care of, and a lot of these are just old converted buildings. And what do they have as a second means of egress on these 100-year-old structures? And these people that are inside can't walk, can't talk, can't run. They can't do anything, so you guys got to make sure that these fire escapes are up to snuff. So, when I was there, I'm going to keep this short, but I did a little bit of an investigation of why the fire escape fell.
Fire escape engineers inspect the summary video. We're here in Philadelphia. All right. Some of the preliminary information that I'm getting out of this is that this piece here, which this is the back, used to be up against the building. These two brackets here used to be going to that fifth floor up there.
Is that fifth
where you
floor
now see the
occupied?
two blowouts. The blowout on the left.
Plywood, the old plywood
right.
on it, does it look occupied?
And it used to be attached there. And then this staircase, which is here, it went to that platform up there. And that platform up there also had a bracket which is now laying inside the floor below. So they either were going up to that upper floor or they were on this fire escape. And as soon as it let go on this side or up above, which looks like it's all blown out.
That's where the through
As soon
bolts
as it
went
let
through.
go there, it basically
So what failed?
tore away,
Fire
and
escape
fell
or the through
down,
bolts?
or the bracket that holds one of the legs.
So this was one failure or two
These
fails? Because it was
legs
also resting on another bracket. Did
is
the other
sitting
bracket
on
give
a
way?
bracket like this, and it's
So it was
up
a
there.
double
You can see
failure?
it on the floor below there. See, there's a bracket right there. There's the
Any
other
cement
piece
in that
inside
hole?
the wall. There's the hole in the wall that used to be. That bracket was there to that corner, and it used to support the staircase that used to go to that
We're
other
going to
top
start a
corner
reality
there.
show, Farscape
So
CSI.
that's how this
You guys are
piece
all involved?
got its way down here, and it kind of did this. But the key is, this is what it
Rusty
looked like.
tiers
That
coming down?
bracket
What's that
used
telling
to
you? What's coming
hold
inside that
one of
building?
the corners,
All those
and
rusty
then it would go
tiers.
from here up to a window that's not here, but it's way up there. But so basically, when this released or that other piece released, it pulled away and brought this with it, or if this failed first, and then it released the remaining piece, but I believe everybody was either up above on this piece. But see how it ties into the back? Single bolt with an angle on the back. So this down here represents that there's an angle along the back, an angle along the wall. Okay, and this platform is pretty shoddy, but
they shut down the
basically
building?
creating a corner. So
What goes on inside, this is a 22-story building in Chicago, that an engineer said, you know what, can we just do a spot check of the, before we put all these senior citizens in the senior housing 22-story building in Chicago? And, because I see some evidence of rusty tiers, which means that water is in, does what? Goes out, brings iron oxide with it and says what? We're eating this stuff, and let me give you a clear sign, so when you go up to a building, you see rusty tiers, we call them dragon's teeth. Rusty tiers, what's that mean? Is water going in, or water's coming out? So on every structure that you have out there, that has a parapet wall, that 50 years ago had what, rubber roof, or had tile and tar and something, what was it feeding down this little cavity, you know, between the two right there? You know, what was it feeding down that half-inch spacing between the veneer and the main structural? What was it feeding? Moisture? Moisture does what to iron? Makes it rust. A quarter inch becomes how big? Over time? 5 times its size. It does what to brick? Pushes it out. But in the meantime, it pees out through the iron. And what's it look like inside? So out here, how's it look? Exposed to weather. But inside the brick, it's constantly wet every day of its life, being fed rainwater every day. What's it do? It gives of itself. It can't grow without giving of itself. So when I tell you that I have to go and verify the connection, I can do this for about $500 a connection. You know, I bring in a mason, and he carefully removes all these bricks, and he exposes, and he sees this. What do we say?
Leave it alone.
They got it. They all got it. Put it back. So, let sleeping dogs lie on these 100-year-old buildings, and do what next to it? Do what 6 inches away? Drill a new 3/4 hole through the building and put in epoxy, or one epoxy or 2 epoxies? 2 epoxies, because we trust them. Or you put 1 through bolt, threaded rod, with what inside? Plate, tighten it, mechanically fasten it back to the fire escape. What do we care about this anymore? We don't? Right? Will you order a load test on me?
Yes.
She wants a load test on everybody now. No! Will you order a load test if I do all this, if I fix this? I'm providing you other evidence of strength. So remember, this is not a load test question.
A startling scene in downtown Colorado Springs Wednesday after a man falls to his death.
I was just walking up the street to get to the bus stop, and the cops were right there, told me I couldn't come this way.
Police say the victim and several others were working on the roof of this privately owned building when the man fell.
He may have fallen a distance of anywhere from 15 to 20 feet is what's being investigated right now.
Tragically, the man died on scene. It's believed he fell from the fire escape and not the roof or a window, although how it happened is still unknown.
That's what's being investigated right now to determine the actual cause of the accident itself.
Right now, police say the death is not criminal and is being called an industrial accident.
There were several witnesses, individuals who were working with the deceased party, and so we've interviewed them as witnesses in this investigation.
It's really sad. I feel bad for his family. I mean, I don't know him, but prayers and best wishes to his family, for sure.
Others in the area expressing similar concerns and well wishes, visibly distraught by the day's events.
I mean, I can't even imagine it, just coming out to do your job one day and just fall off a building. Like, it's really sad.
Okay, so what you have there is the guy, did they say he was working on the fire escape or working on the roof? So he used the fire escape instead of scaffolding to do what? And by the way, we got approached by this by OSHA, by the workers' comp, by people in that area to sort of investigate this. So this is also on our radar, because I am an expert witness on a lot of fire escape tragedies. So I know a lot of deaths because I've been involved in them. I've been on this side of the case, and I've been on the other side of the case being sued because somebody got hurt. So I have a master's degree in reverse stupidity. I know a million ways to do it wrong, till I got it right. I went to Dum Dum University. So I'm 53, my dad dragged me into this when I was 12. So if you want to know the wrong way to fix a fire escape, I can pull the wool over your eyes, be a million ways to Sunday. Got it? So we basically know all the tricks. We're trying to get away with all the, eliminate all the tricks, including not just the vendors, but also the engineers who are supposed to be doing their job, but they don't know their job because they never made money on fire escapes. So we have a confidence test that they must check. They can no longer write you an opinion letter that says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. They have to have a checklist, which you have a copy of it right now, and you go on to Oregon, you can go on to California, you can go on to Seattle, and it's a yes, no question box. It says, and I'm sure every engineer wants to sign this document, it says, you have verified that 100% of all the rust on the external fire escape, there is no internal rust in any of the connections. And that you've checked every tread, every bolt, every rail, every ladder, every clip. You have checked one of these things because you're attesting to that at the signature's end. How many of them are going to sign that? Well, that's what it says. So no longer do we want an opinion, we want a yes, no questionnaire. And it's very simple. So that's going to straighten those boys up right away. And a lot of times when they used to do the drive-bys for $500, now what do they want for a real evaluation? $1,500. How much they want to create repair documents for the vendor to do the right job with him coming there 3 to 5 visits. $3,000 to $5,000 for that. But who's in charge of making sure that that gets done? You or this engineer that's now making some money on this proper repair? And by the way, when's he going to take another bite of that apple? Not for 25 years. He'll still have the 5-year inspection, which is now the $500, hey, what I did 5 years ago is spectacular, I'm going to try to get under this other evidence of strength thing, because not only did we fix all these bolts, we caulked everything with 35 to 50-year silicone. What's the difference? 35-year is paintable, 50-year is not paintable. So unless you have a black fire escape, you have to put it on. So if you want a beige fire escape, you got to use the 35-year stuff because you got to paint it, unless you get the matching color, then that's a whole nother. But so that's the concern that you have. So we have basically we're closing up all the loopholes. We're teaching you guys to stop writing scrape and paint violations because you were the cause of this great calamity. Your predecessors 50 years ago. You just kept going along with it. So you guys are being trained. So you're not going to do it anymore, right? Because you write, anybody want to read what's on their paper? What do you write on a violation? That's it, and certified, don't forget. Testing or certification, that's what the code says. You're going to give me a test or certification. Somebody spot repairs and spits paint at it, what do you pull out of your back pocket? Nice and loud. Low test. Low test, because you want to drop it, or you just want to scare it with them? Just scare it, because you want to do what with it? You want to put it where? You want to put it back in your pocket, because what do you want to tell that guy? Because there is an alternative. What's the alternative?
Take it out.
Other evidence of strength.
Other evidence of strength, right? Other evidence of strength. You give me that, there is no load test. Otherwise, you got a 35-year engineer with degrees, and he's got a wing that he built at some local college, trying to push his mightiness on top of you. What do you pull out of your pocket to fight that evil knight? Right? He goes, I've been giving you opinions for 35 years. Why? I know the mayor, he and I play golf every day. You say, that's good. What do you pull out of your pocket? And vanquish that evil tyrant? Say, load test. He goes, what is that, rock, paper, scissors? What is that, the paper? Right? There's something that wins everything. You understand? And when he runs to the mayor, and he says, oh, that fire official is just yanking my chain, and the fire official, the mayor calls you up and you say, hey, why are you giving this guy a hard time? I'm not giving him a hard time. I'm trying to make him comply with how many codes? 4. But I'll give him a pass. I just need you to countersign. I'm going to sign that everything's okay. And Mayor, could you please just sign here saying, with the authority and the insistence of the mayor, can you just countersign my thing? Because I don't do this for anybody else, but for your friend who you play golf with, let's just put babies and firemen at risk, because I'm sure at the next firemen's meeting, we're gonna be happy that there's a new list of friends and everybody else. Got it? Okay, other load tests, things that have been involved in throughout the country. A woman fell 5 stories to her death in Boston because her boyfriend used to live in this building. The building next to it's on a hill, so his 5-story and this 5-story, his 5th floor apartment fed the neighbor's deck, free, beautiful deck in Beacon Hill, Boston. So guess what he did that night when he came back from partying on a beautiful summer night and drinking? What do? You go over there and hang out on the other neighbor's deck, the phone rings, and who gets the phone? Does he go get the phone or does she go get the phone? She goes, gets the phone, there's a railing missing, and where does she end up? Behind this gate. Here's another one that happened up in Massachusetts. You know, people are selling their condos, but the owner of this property, he basically put the roof on himself with his kids, and so in order to do that, he had to lift all the fire escapes, put the roof down, and then drop everything, and like any good mechanic, he had some extra bolts. What do you do with extra bolts, guys?
Put them in a bag.
Put them in a bag, and then they were never needed. And what happened when the buyer, the real estate agent, the seller and the real estate agent, and a condo trustee was there walking up, what happened to it? They fell from there. Oh, there's no signs that this thing is rusting away, is there? They fell there, only 12 feet. The thing mangled everybody. Did anybody die? No. So what do? When you're all mangled and you can just move one hand, what do? You grab your phone and you do what? Yeah, you're the first person that ever said that. Everybody goes, call 911. No, you call your lawyer and say, bring a camera and call 911 because I'm going to wait here. And they did, honestly, became a major lawsuit. So, got it? And that's only just falling 12 feet. Oh, by the way, the photographs that I'm taking, there was 3 of those fire escape systems. Every single one of them was in collapse. That's the one that collapsed. I was taking photographs from another one that was ready to collapse. There's another one I was an expert witness in Iowa. 3 kids watching a fireworks, right? And so yes, they went boom, boom, boom to the ground, and that's their blood on the ground. And this is a major owner of a lot of property that handles university kids, you know. And what happened is his man needed to fix something on the window over here. So they took out this bracket, there it is, that had a through bolt, there it is, to fix this corner. Then when they put it back with a lag screw. So they had a 1/2-inch hole with a 1/2-inch lag screw, and what does that do for you? So all of a sudden the kids wanted to watch the fireworks, because this place is like a dorm, you know, like a frat house kind of thing. It's filled. So 3 kids are up there, the thing goes boomity boom boom, and all of a sudden this is the scenes from the place there, and where do you put, you know, because it's now being investigated that somebody got hurt and almost killed. They didn't die, they got hurt. So that's one of the good things, but they all got crippled, right? So all of a sudden now we get called in from a Chicago firm that's representing the kids, and we get there and we're like, okay, we need to look at the evidence, and where's the evidence? In a secured location?
No.
The fire escape is 8 blocks down in an open field that the guy owns, full of grass. So we get there, CSI, CSI, and this is us with lawyers and fire departments and stuff, and we find, this is how we found it, just thrown in the field with a staircase. And so we're investigating, we're trying to find pieces, and we found the smoking gun. What was the smoking gun? As we're going around, we found, they were so good that they even threw the smoking gun into the field, which is the screw that when you put it in the piece there, it actually shows the lag screw in the, so, but it becomes comical, you know what I'm saying, some of the stuff. So with that, they're all excited because they found a smoking gun and the case settled. You know, it's like, all right, you want to write the check here, you want to sign here, or you want to go back to the office. So they put it back, right? They were so scared. They put a through bolt back into the building. They were so scared they even put a leg to the ground. Do you need both, or you need one? One, right? But just to make sure, they had Jimmy Crack Corn guy down there. Not only put it back, but also put in a leg to the ground. Oh, that 4x4 steel post on a pressure treated sleeper, or right on the asphalt shingles? On the shingles. Asphalt. That's why I would put it too. I put it on the asphalt shingle, and see these two legs that were never there? And that's one of the reasons why the thing was torquing. Those 2x2 angles coming down into the asphalt shingles are on pressure treated sleepers? Nah. Right on the asphalt, you know, stabbing right there. So I was actually able to, right here in this corner, I was actually able to go down there, because on the corner was a lag screw area to basically tie the corner, because it wraps around the corner. I was able to grab it down there and walk it this way 2 feet and videotape it and walk it back and drop it back down, that bottom piece. So the case settled pretty quick. Here's another one. Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Firefighters were taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building.
Flames!
Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments, because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, they said that's scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in the fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
Well, about 50 people were displaced inside this building. How about the firefighters say there's good news tonight? It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in, except the one unit where the fire was in. They said, that's good luck to them tonight. How about we'll
Reset the clock. Reset the mousetrap. So 50 people, only one burned. All these 50 people couldn't get out of the fire escape because all the fire escapes didn't work. But we're going to send them all back in tonight because they're lucky. Because when they got there with their fire hoses ready, turn on the water. Somebody says, no, not yet, because we got to do what first before we fight the fire? Rescue everybody off the fire escape first. So what happens when you have a guy rescuing who's supposed to be fighting? Flames double every 2 minutes or something like that? Isn't that the case? So, lucky though, we got to put all those 50 people back. 6 months later, I was called to go look at this fire escape, and when I got there, there was probably 12 fire escapes. At least 8 of them were in a state of collapse. 6 months later, I spoke with the fire, I spoke with everybody, I tried to get the word out, and what was done? Because nobody died. By the way, you saw the little kid there being trained on how to jump from a fire escape ladder, right? Right? You train your 8-year-old daughter or son to jump 12 feet from a ladder. That, by the way, they're supposed to do what when you get on them? But if all of a sudden you send, there's flames there, you're like, you send your kid first, because then the kid eventually gets to a point that says what? It's 12 more feet, and they got a great shot of it, you know what I'm saying? You'd have a problem jumping 12 feet. Make a little kid jump 12 feet? Oh, but everything's fine. 50 more people back in the building. It was lucky. So I love that. I love that Bridgeport piece, All right. Let's talk about how people have hurt themselves. Today, when you get into your fire escapes are used for so many different things. Ready? First of all, let's talk about this guy right here. That's not our guy, but one of my members from Chicago, his father died falling 7 stories doing the exact same thing. So it doesn't just hit tenants and firemen. People who don't know how to fix them correctly, don't know what part of the puzzle to take out first. It's a deck of cards, and guess what happens? 7 stories, he's only 57 years old. He died. Remember the day when no AC? Guys, you have firemen every now and then that extract people through the fire escape because for some reason, something on the front is not allowing you to extract it. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, you have to use. Guys, when all hell breaks loose, what happens? Even though that your gray-haired trainer told you what? Don't use the fire escape, what do? You use it, and then what does it do to you? And guys, how many parades happen in your city filled with, universities? And what does everybody do in all the apartment complexes that are now housing tons of students? What do? They get on that fire escape and then, what happens? So they say, no, you got to write a letter that says nobody on the fire escape. You got a beer on a sunny day, guess where I'm going? Oh, by the way, a lot of people on big complexes, how do you sneak to your friends, to have a date with your friend's wife? You go through the front way, or? Okay, so this fire escape seems to be a personal means of escape in many cases. Gotta leave quick. He died doing what he does best. But weddings are happening. Oh, by the way, there's a no smoking policy in every building now, in every dorm, in every. Don't burn incense. And where do they do it? Right? That's the new smoking hall for everybody. All right, let's take a look at who people think inspect fire escapes. First of all, the code is very clear. Design professionals or others acceptable to the building official. You know what that means? Design professional means you will have a structural engineer, a civil engineer, an electrical engineer, anybody that has a stamp that sort of, if you're not paying attention, everybody in the world will come through. A registered architect will come through. A landscape architect, a structural architect, a interior architect that has a stamp, and he's going to try to do what? But it does say design professional. So it says in the code, design professional or others acceptable to the building official. So you can negate some of these people. Others acceptable to the building official, there's only 2 licenses in the country. Boston has a license. It's a G3 license issued by the building department, and it's used to sign off on fire escapes. I have one of those licenses. I sign all of Harvard's 375 fire escapes I've been doing for almost 20 years. You don't think they have enough engineers to sign off? But that's just because that's my expertise. But it doesn't mean you have to accept me, because I may have more qualifications than a structural engineer, but that engineer has a stamp that you may want to see and put it politely inside. We're trying to avoid either one, because with a checklist item, you don't have to worry whether or not, because they both have to sign a confidence test, and the confidence test says, I have verified to you that 100% of all the internal rust and all the connections in this fire escape are not there. So it doesn't matter who signs now, because they're signing a very dangerous document. Got it? I have a license out of LA, out of Reg 4. So let me tell you a couple places that I think you guys should steal a lot of stuff from. So Regulation 4, I'm a certified fire escape assemblies tester. Got it? So there's the only 2 licenses in the country. I've used it to cross many states. I've signed in many states where they said others qualified and acceptable. I teach a lot of class so that I can still maintain my other qualified, status, right? But every now and then I still get a city official that says, I'd like you to countersign it. So I do. I sign it, and then I wake up an engineer in the area. I bring him a cup of coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. He says, how you doing? I said, don't even get out of your car. You can look at the fire escape, but can you just stamp, and that's all. That's all the city official wants, just that seal. And seals, you can buy them. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you that you have to pick a design professional or others acceptable to you. So let them qualify themselves to make sure that they're qualified. Design professional or others. Okay? But there's only 2 licenses in the country. Got it? Can we do that and make everybody certified in the country in the future at all 50 states through an organization? That's why I started the National Fire Escape Association. When is it going to do? I don't know. When I grow another tentacle in my octopus body here, there's a lot, so I'll do the best I can. But you don't have to worry about a specific license. I think it's just going to be self-policing in the future. Otherwise, you don't need others yet. You have design professional. How many feet do you have to go before you hit an engineer or an architect in your city? They're already there. Got it? Who can fix fire escapes? Welding guys, ornamental guys, iron workers, right? So how far do you have to go before you hit the very people that can fix this stuff? So this is not something that only a few people can do. Everybody can already do this. They just never saw any money in it, and they never played. Because who's the only guy playing in the thing? Joe Painter. He was the only one for 50 years doing this thing. Got it? So that's what I have to remember. So this actually worked. This is as they say, this happened over 50 years because somebody wrote a scrape and paint violation when? 50 years ago. So engineers, architects. Oh, by the way, everybody tells me that you guys are inspecting fire escapes. And they tell me that you've only picked out one tread for me to fix. And don't fix any more than that, because that's what the violation said. It says, paint your fire escape and fix that broken tread. Or that broken rail. Guys, do not write anything more on your violations. What do you write? 3 things? Got it? That's all you write. Because they will call you back the next day and say what? I may borrow your book for a second, unless, Dan, give me a book. When you can have, I can send you this, and it's online. This is the departmental procedures and guidelines. And why do the building departments and fire departments have such a thing? Basically, they take a code, and they don't understand it, so, but to help their community, what do they do? They kind of write departmental procedures and guidelines and say, hey, this is how we're interpreting the code, this is what you should do. So, once you can copy and paste this into your letterhead. We can make one of these up for you that it has no mention of Firescape, the National Firescapes Association. But this can be a Word or a PDF document, and you can just copy or modify any one of these words. But if you're an engineer or a design professional, this is what you read. This is what, in layman's terms, I want you to do in my city. If you're going to repair fire escapes in my city, just read the repair section. And if you're going to paint it,